everyone, good Wednesday evening. Let's do weather for Weather Geeks. You know, weather forecasting can be a humbling profession sometimes. We have a handful of days a year in which we just did not get the forecast right, and today was one of those days. It was a day that started as expected. We had sunshine this morning, and actually the clouds rolled in early this afternoon as expected. We had this weak little weather disturbance passing through. Well, this weak little disturbance had a little more energy in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere with it. And what does that mean for our weather? Well, there's a little more wind energy aloft that was able to cause more uplift in the atmosphere, in the lower atmosphere. That led to some snow. And not only did it snow, it stuck to surfaces and it caused a lot of problems late this afternoon and early this evening. This time lapse starts at about 2:30 p.m. At this point, the snow in Columbiana was sticking to sidewalks and the grassy surfaces, things like that. But then, later in the afternoon, as the snow continued to come down and it came down a little bit heavier and we got into the late afternoon, so the sun angle is lower, the sun basically doing us no good on a December late afternoon with temperatures in the 20s, this is what happens. It began to stick on the roads and we had traffic accidents galore, and not a very fun second half of the afternoon today. I'm always going to be honest with you, and I'm going to talk about our successes and I'm going to talk about our forecast failures as well when we have a forecast that goes sideways, and today was one of those days. We weren't alone. There was really no one that I saw calling for up to a half an inch worth of snow and tough travel today, but sometimes, the atmosphere just pulls a fast one on us. It only happens a few times a year on average, and today, again, one of those days. Now, the radar quieting down as of this recording at about 7:30. The last of the decent snow bands rolled through Columbiana County in the 6 o'clock hour, and by 7:30, we're pretty much done with any mischievous, impactful snow. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell on these satellite pictures where the clouds are, but you can see the clouds are starting to thin if you look carefully at the brighter colors. The sky continues to clear as we go through the evening, and that will give us a nice full moon view overnight tonight. Beautiful moonrise earlier on today when we had some breaks in the clouds. The moon technically full, like 100% full, at 12:12 a.m. on 12/12/2019, the last full moon of the decade, last full moon of the year, and it'll be a cold one out there tonight under that full moon. It's called the cold moon in December. Each full moon for each month of the year gets a name. There are several names out there. A lot of these date back to names designated by Native Americans. Some of them have to do with vegetation, harvests. Sometimes it's just December, and it's usually cold in December, so it's called the cold moon. All right, speaking of cold start to the day tomorrow. We'll be in the teens, but tomorrow, honestly, is going to be a better day than today, despite that cold start. No surprises coming our way tomorrow. We don't have any sort of weather disturbance heading our way. What we do have is a little more of a southerly component to the wind tomorrow. That will allow temperatures to get into the mid-30s after that start in the mid-teens. Kind of what I call a milky sky tomorrow. In other words, there'll be a veil of high clouds. You'll be able to see some dim sun through those clouds, but not exactly a bright and sunny afternoon for our Thursday. Friday probably starts with some sun, but clouds increase in the afternoon, and I think showers probably do hold off until Friday night, and heading into parts of Saturday as well. Might even be a few wet snowflakes on Saturday. All right, let's start talking about next week. A few flurries around into Sunday morning. Then we'll keep an eye on what's going on with a potential early week system. We talked about this last evening on Weather for Weather Geeks, and the bottom line with this is we're still kind of in this time frame right here, 5-6 days out, so there's of course a lot of uncertainty. We're in the pattern recognition and keeping an eye on trends mode right now. The trends since yesterday's suite of modeling, a little bit of a flatter system on some of our model products. In other words, not a big wound up area of low pressure. So that's one trend. Some of the modeling is trending a little bit farther to the north. Some of it's trending a little farther to the south. This is the kind of game we have to play 5-6 days out from any system, especially in the wintertime. You're going to have model differences and an uncertain forecast. High confidence that we'll see some precipitation later Monday and into Monday night, Tuesday morning. What kind of precipitation is that? Low confidence in that. Impacts on the roads, on day-to-day life, low confidence in that. If you are looking at a source, chances are if you're watching this video, you're weather savvy enough that you're not doing this. But if you're doing some forecast shopping and bringing up an app on your phone, say the Weather Channel app or Weather Underground or AccuWeather or something like that, and that app is showing you X amount of snow Monday night, X amount of snow Tuesday, giving you specific amounts, that source, whether it be an app or a web page or a Facebook page or something like that, that source is either driven largely by automation, as a lot of the big weather vendors are, and or driven by clicks, like a lot of Facebook pages are. A lot of weather Facebook pages out there, of course, just, you know, they're looking for clicks, they're looking for shares, they're looking for attention. So chances are those sorts of sites are going to start putting in specifics and snowfall amounts way ahead of more responsible weather forecast sources, such as us, I like to think. Now, I will show you some model information on this Geeks video tonight, and I showed you some of this last night. Here's a look at our model spread with our 3 kind of major medium range models. There's a lot more model information than this out there, but for simplicity's sake, we'll show 3. The GFS Ensemble still kind of leading the pack here with a few inches locally, and GFS and Euro down closer to an inch or even less. You know, gut feeling on this, and again, just a gut feeling, it's certainly not a forecast, but a gut feeling is this is going to be a mixed bag. It could be a real just slop storm. Rain, snow, sleet, maybe some freezing rain for a time. I doubt this is pure snow. And I also don't think it's a tremendous amount of precipitation. Now, could we have impacts? Yes, but do I think it is the kind of system that's going to produce a heavy amount of either snow or mixed precipitation? At this point, I kind of doubt it. All right, looking ahead to the longer range, I told you tonight we talk a little bit about the run-up to Christmas a little bit more, now that we're exactly 2 weeks away from Christmas. This is the 8 to 14-day outlook put out by the Climate Prediction Center, showing pretty decent odds in the middle of the country for a warmer-than-average period, pretty decent odds out west, and we are in the lower odds, but still in the orange here nonetheless. So confidence increases as you go west that this is going to be a warm period, but even for us, I have medium confidence at this point that our 8 to 14-day period will come out in the wash as warmer than average. That doesn't mean there can't be some cold days, but when you look at the 6 or 7 days as a whole, it's probably going to come out on the warm side. All right, white Christmases. Everybody wants to know at this time of the year, hey, what about travel conditions? What about a white Christmas? What about a good old-fashioned, you know, sit by the fire, look at the snow falling outside, white Christmas? Well, here in our area, we have statistics, good statistics that date back to the 1930s. And when you look at Christmas Day, roughly 7 out of 10 Christmases have at least some snowflakes flying. That could be just some random flurries with no accumulation, or it could be something more impactful. So roughly 7 out of 10, we see a snowflake or two on Christmas. Roughly 37% of our Christmases have measurable snowfall during that day, the 25th of December. That means more than just a trace, more than usually just flurries, maybe enough to give you at least a coating, if not more. Roughly 37% of our Christmases have that. Roughly 46% of our Christmases have at least an inch of snow on the ground. Now, it doesn't have to snow on Christmas Day for this to be true. You could have snow before Christmas and it stays on the ground through Christmas Day, but this is kind of the threshold we use for a white Christmas around here. It's pretty common to say that an inch of snow on the ground means a white Christmas. And finally, a couple of other stats for white Christmases. Our snowiest Christmas since at least 1934 was back in 2002. 17 years ago, we had 5.4 inches worth of snow on Christmas Day back in 2002. Back in 1995, we had our deepest snowpack since at least 1934. There was 10 inches of snow on the ground Christmas of 1995. Well, historical odds, of course, highest for a white Christmas, downwind of the Great Lakes and out in the Rocky Mountains, some of our snowier areas across the country. So here in eastern Ohio, western PA, lower odds as you go south, higher odds as you go north and east. Very high odds for seeing a white Christmas as you get up towards Buffalo, Rochester, etc., historically speaking. For us, again, we're kind of in this range across our television viewing area, roughly 40 to 50%, somewhat higher numbers in our northern areas, northern Trumbull, northern Mercer, somewhat lower odds as you go to the south. But taken as a whole for our viewing area, historical odds about 46% of at least 1 inch of snow on the ground on Christmas. What about this year? Here's my initial forecast 2 weeks out. Lower than average, but certainly not zero. I'm not going to predict 0 2 weeks out. Too much can change in 2 weeks. But given the overall trends that I'm seeing in the modeling, I'm putting this year's odds of a white Christmas as lower than that historical average of 46%. Look for more updates on that forecast, next week's potential wintry weather, and much, much more on future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks on my social media, WFMJ.com, and of course, the Storm Tracker 21 app. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great Wednesday night.